Can you imagine coming home after 5 years, ready to build your dream house, only to find a parking lot where your land should be? That's exactly what happened to me. 5 years ago, I bought a beautiful untouched plot of land right on the edge of a new suburban development. It was perfect. I had blueprints drawn up, permits lined up, and I was all set to start building. But then, a once-in-a-lifetime job opportunity came up overseas. I couldn't pass it up, so I put my building plans on hold, packed my bags, and figured my land would be waiting for me, safe and sound, when I got back. Boy, was I wrong. Fast forward 5 years, I'm back in the States, excited to finally get started on my home. I drive out to my property, my heart pounding with anticipation. But as I turn the corner, my stomach drops where my green tree-lined plot should be. There's just asphalt, rows and rows of neatly painted parking spaces, filled with the shiny cars of the neighboring Homeowners Association, the Evergreen Estates HOA. I just stood there, completely stunned. My land was gone, replaced by a parking lot. There wasn't even a sign, just a smug little plaque with the HOA's name on it. My dream had literally been paved over. My initial shock quickly turned into white-hot anger. How could this happen? Did they think the land just appeared out of nowhere? I marched right over to the first house I saw with an Evergreen Estates sign on the lawn. A woman answered the door, and I tried to stay calm. I explained who I was and that the parking lot she was probably using was, in fact, my private property. She just scoffed at me. She said, "That's HOA common area. It's been here for years. You must be mistaken." Mistaken. I had the deed in my briefcase. I asked her who was in charge of the HOA, and she pointed me toward a house at the end of the street, the home of the HOA president, a woman named Karen. Yes, her name was actually Karen. You can't make this stuff up. So I went to Karen's house. She was exactly what you'd expect. Perfectly styled hair, a condescending smile, and an attitude that could curdle milk. I introduced myself again and explained the situation. Karen looked at me like I was a bug she wanted to squash. She folded her arms and said, "I'm sorry, but you're misinformed. That land is part of the Evergreen Estates common property. We developed it for the good of the community." I told her I had the deed, the property records, everything to prove I was the legal owner. She just waved her hand dismissively. "Paperwork can be faked," she said. "We've been maintaining that lot for 4 years. Possession is 9/10 of the law." You know, the sheer audacity was breathtaking. She was quoting a legal cliché to me while standing on what was essentially stolen land. I knew right then that being nice wasn't going to work. I told her, "Karen, this isn't a debate. This is my property. You and your HOA have illegally trespassed and built on it without my permission." Her smile vanished. She told me to get off her property and threatened to call the police for harassment. I just laughed. "Go ahead," I said. "I'd love to explain the situation to them." I left her standing on her porch fuming. My next stop was my lawyer's office. I walked in, dropped the files on his desk and said, "You are not going to believe this." When I explained what had happened, his eyes went wide. He's a seasoned property lawyer, but even he was shocked by the HOA's arrogance. He looked through my documents, the deed, the survey, the tax records, and confirmed everything was ironclad. "They don't have a legal leg to stand on," he said, a grin spreading across his face. "This is going to be fun." The first step was to send a formal cease and desist letter. Our letter was simple and direct. It stated that the Evergreen Estates HOA was illegally occupying my property. It demanded they immediately vacate the premises, remove all vehicles, and cease using it as a parking lot. We gave them 48 hours to comply. We also included copies of my deed and the official county plot map, just to make it crystal clear. We knew they'd ignore it, but it was a necessary legal step. And, just as we predicted, 48 hours came and went. The parking lot was still full of cars. Karen and the HOA were calling my bluff. They had no idea who they were dealing with. So, we moved on to phase 2. The next morning, at 7 a.m. sharp, a fleet of tow trucks I had hired rolled up to the entrance of the parking lot. The residents were just starting their morning commutes, and suddenly, they saw their cars being hooked up and hauled away. Panic erupted. People came running out of their houses in pajamas and bathrobes, yelling and demanding to know what was going on. I stood there calmly with a copy of my lawyer's letter. To every angry homeowner who approached me, I simply said, "This is private property. Your vehicle is being towed for trespassing. You can contact your HOA president for more information." The looks on their faces were priceless. They were furious, but not at me. They were furious at the HOA for getting them into this mess. Karen showed up about 10 minutes later, her face red with rage. She started screaming at me, at the tow truck drivers, at anyone who would listen. "You can't do this. This is illegal." I just smiled and pointed to the massive private property. "No trespassing, violators. Will be towed at owner's expense" signs that the tow company had installed at the entrance. "It's perfectly legal, Karen," I said. "It's my property. You were warned." The police eventually showed up, called by about a dozen frantic residents. I calmly showed the officers my paperwork. They looked it over, spoke to Karen, and then came back to me. One of the officers said, Well, sir, it looks like this is your land. It's a civil matter, but as far as trespassing goes, you're within your rights to have the vehicles removed. That was the moment Karen's face went from angry to pale. She finally realized I wasn't bluffing. With the cars gone, the lot was empty, but my land was still a sea of asphalt. My lawyer and I filed a lawsuit against the HOA for trespassing, damages, and the cost of restoring my land to its original condition. The lawsuit also demanded compensation for the 5 years I was unable to use my property. The HOA's legal team tried to fight it, of course. They argued that they had acted in good faith, believing the land was abandoned. They claimed their development had improved the property. My lawyer tore that argument to shreds in court. He presented evidence that the HOA never even bothered to do a simple title search. A 5-minute search at the county records office would have shown my name as the owner. It was pure negligence and arrogance. They just saw an empty plot of land and took it. The judge was not impressed with the HOA. He ruled completely in my favor. The final judgment was a thing of beauty. The HOA was ordered to pay for the complete removal of the asphalt parking lot and to restore the land to its original state, which included bringing in topsoil and planting new trees. They also had to pay me a significant sum in damages for the years of illegal use and the delay to my building plans. And, to top it all off, they had to cover all of my legal fees. The total bill for the HOA was astronomical. It was a massive financial blow, and I heard it caused a huge uproar within the community. Several members of the HOA board, including Karen, were forced to resign. The best part of all, a few weeks later, a demolition crew hired by the HOA arrived. I pulled up a lawn chair, poured myself a cold drink, and watched as they tore up every last piece of that ugly asphalt. The sound of jackhammers breaking apart the pavement was music to my ears. It was the sweet sound of justice. Each chunk of concrete they hauled away felt like a small victory. It took a while, but eventually, my land was clear again. It was a bit scarred, but it was mine. All mine. The whole ordeal was a nightmare. But in the end, I got my land back. And a careless HOA learned a very expensive lesson about respecting other people's property. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a house to build. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories.